far-reaching and sustained success in this crucial endeavor. Before we open the floor for discussion, we'd like to introduce our interviewees this morning. We have from WWF Philippines, Ms. Trin Custodio. We also have from SM, Mr. Tim Daniels. And from NEO, Mr. Raymond Rufino. And right now, the floor is now open for their questions.
Hi, good morning. Roy Snowden, senior correspondent of CNN Philippines. During the speech of Mr. Hansi Jr., you mentioned about this deal with the Aboitiz group. So my question is aimed at the SM group. Where are we at in terms of reaching that over 50% renewable energy mixing more businesses going in 2022? I know you've just had this agreement with Aboitiz. So, and it's like it's a close call, right? As we're already at the tail end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
I think it's up.
Thank you for the question, and I think we will be able to achieve that by the end of this year. The way that we've approached looking at our carbon targets and use of renewable energy in the SM Group is to make sure that when we make announcements, they are very, very grounded in achievability and in science. And so when SM Prime announced that that was what they were going to achieve by the end of this year, they already had some very concrete plans around how to achieve it. So you know, we're not in the space of trying to make very aspirational, long-term, or we don't know how to achieve it kind of goals. We're very practical in the SM Group, and so SM Prime, when they said they were going to do it, they were already working very hard, and they will achieve it.
Sure. Can we have a breakdown? Of course, the SM is a conglomerate with lots of businesses. Like, if you could just give us a breakdown as to the retail sector, the property sector, where we are at. Are they already over 50% in terms of the renewable energy mix?
So, as you point out, right, we're a large and complex group of companies, and our approach is for each business to think about its footprint, its most material issues, and what it can do to address it. So we're not coming with a top-down goal that is applicable to the whole of the SM Group. And that means that with each business, we ask ourselves, what is the most relevant thing that they can do to deal with the sustainability issues, and in particular around climate. So the reason that we have seen public statements made by SM Prime is because they are the largest physical footprint. They are clearly a very large energy user within the group, and they're the ones that are able to take practical actions around the energy issue. So that's why SM Prime is very much leading on that with the group. Of course, NEO has also been way ahead with very specific actions as well. Since you're asking about the other parts of the business, the climate actions have different kind of materialities. So our banks, for example, are very much, everybody's looking to mitigate their own footprint, to be using renewable sources where they can, to be reducing their energy use through efficient operations. But with BDO, the effort is also taking a lead on funding renewable energy. And they are currently funding 54 renewable energy projects around the country, including with Aboitiz, who mentioned it earlier. So they are taking the lead within the group on the renewable energy side. With our retail business, the footprint and the impact they can have is really much more around being customer facing. How can we, as a very large marketplace and presence, actually start to influence supply chains and meet the desire of customers to have more renewable projects? So SM Prime has been leading on a program called Green Finds, which is being highlighting in the department stores, for example, those products that are most renewably sourced, most responsibly sourced, or that have a lower carbon footprint. And that way we're providing choices to our customers, and we hope that this builds over time as customers respond to it. So different goals for different parts of the business, wherever they have the most material impact on the key issues.
Last question. Beyond 2022, are you looking at a longer-term partnership with Aboitiz and then bump up that target of over 50% renewable mix?
I think we want to push the envelope on all the targets that we can. It's imperative that we are more energy efficient, that we use more renewables, that we fund more renewables. And we were very open to partnerships to do that. We have a very good relationship with Aboitiz, as was discussed today. What we do as we do that is we look very practically when we make announcements about our targets. But certainly, so when you hear a statement from SM, it's going to be something that we are absolutely committed to achieving, and we're very far in advance in thinking about how to do it. So you will hear further things, but we won't set just big aspirational goals. We'll keep pushing the boundary on what's possible and investing that way.
Clarification, sir. So as it is now, it's only applicable until end 2022.
Well, the goal of having more than 50% by the end of 2022 is already one of the most aggressive goals that anybody's put out there. And it's very, very near term, and it's a very large number. So I'd like to give SM Prime a lot of credit for what they've done. But please be assured that in the background, we're also looking at what comes next and how do we make sure that we can actually deliver it.
You've actually topped the government targets of over 50%.
I think SM Prime, it's beating most people's aspirations, and it's not a 2030, it's not a 2050 goal. It's very near term.
And actually, they blazed the trail as early as last year. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good day. I'm Leo Mendiola from OODO.ph. First, I would like to congratulate SMWF for partnering. A lot of organizations are having sustainability efforts, but it seems that we're working in silos. So what's the specific trigger that made you say, it's now the time that we have the sustainability plan?
Well, we in SM have tried to be responsible advocates and bring people together for a while now. We actually started doing this kind of conference a couple of years before the pandemic. This is the fourth time we've done something like this. The first couple of times we did it were quite big picture, and we focused on getting people's awareness up and bringing the private sector together around reporting initially, working with GRI, and then around really big priorities with the UN, where we signed up for the Sustainable Development Goals as part of the Global Compact. And we worked with other private sector partners to have those conversations. This time around, coming out of the pandemic, we asked ourselves, what is the really practical thing that the Philippines needs? And where can we take it down to actual specific action? And so we were very, very delighted to partner with WWF, because we felt that between us we can help to try and address the very specific problem the Philippines has coming with climate change. And we can use our relationships with other corporates and our ability to talk private sector and public sector together to get very specific on this. So this forum is designed to be collaborative and action-based.
Okay, just a follow-up. So during the Fireside chat a while ago, it was mentioned that we're in a battle for a long time. But this time, how do you think we can make people more accountable for their actions?
The truth is, and it's a painful truth, is that the accountability is going to be a challenge, because at the end of the day, there are, unless you're a government, you're a regulator, it's very, very to mandate people to say, if you don't do this, then there's going to be repercussions. So I think really what we have on the private sector is really, number one, I think there is a unanimous kind of awareness. You saw the list, no? Number one tayo, most risky in the world. I think if you saw it in the room, if you were there, you saw how many people kind of, every business owner, when you see that number one in Pilipinas, most risky in the world, it kind of really affects you. It makes you very scared, because this is where we live, this is where our businesses are. So I think the focus, the being together in trying to address that and change us and move the Philippines from most risky to a least riskier base, it's there now. I think the accountability will have to come really from ourselves. If we say we're going to do something, I think it's up to us to hold ourselves accountable. We cannot, I don't think that people are going to go out of their way to hold other organizations or people accountable. It's very difficult, right? And there's only so much you can do. So it has to come from a place where I think if you take action, if you make a commitment, then I think you need to hold yourself accountable, and hopefully the public holds us accountable, right? So every company, we have customers, we have partners, we have stakeholders. Hopefully those different groups can hold the company accountable for our claims, our commitments, our actions. So other than that, I think you're going to find it quite difficult for really concrete accountability other than in those situations. I don't know, Trey, if you have more to add.
I would like to address both questions actually. So on the Alliances for Climate Action, this movement of private sector, non-state actors coming together really came about only pretty recently, 2018. And WWF was involved in two of these coalitions that happened early, the one in the US and in Japan, where they said we are all in, and the role that they identified for themselves then was to really push government on their government ambition. The role of the alliance is different in every country depending on the context. Here, it's more collaborative, I think. It's more about pulling each other. What does government need to do? What does the private sector need to do? So there is a much more partnership aspect rather than challenging aspect. So that's one. So why now with the SM Group? What really unlocked this opportunity is the partnership with SM on our Corporates for a Better Planet initiative. So the decision to work with us in setting science-based targets signaled that they will be addressing where the impact is material. Because if a company addresses impact in smaller things without dealing with where it really makes an impact, then that's where you're coming to a risk of greenwashing. So with that partnership on the Corps for a Better Planet initiative, that then signaled that we are now ready, and SM being the largest conglomerate in the country, we are ready to talk about this more, bring in more people, because these decisions that SM leadership will take will have effects on their supply chain. Right? So think about all the SMEs, all the other companies that work with SM. Thank you.
Maybe I can just add to the program. So the Corporates for a Better Planet initiative. So we were one of the pilot partners for that program. And a little bit of background, this is a program that WWF put up to help corporations really look at the plan of how they will become more sustainable. And not only the plan, but also how do they report and how do they communicate what they're doing. So we're very proud that in the coming weeks, we're going to be releasing our first ever sustainability report for NEO. We are not a public company and not required to do any reporting, yet we felt it was important to do that. And WWF was a key partner for us. Through this program, they helped us sort of craft the important materiality and important content that went into this report. So I think we're very excited to be partnering both with WWF, of course, we're part of the SM Group, in trying to push sustainability reporting and communication also, because I think that's very, very important. There's so much that a company can do. I think the sustainability reports is a great way to kind of focus everyone on what are the specific areas we want to target and we want to work on to promote better sustainability.
Good morning. I'm Justine from Business World. So it's actually related to what you have talked about. It's about sustainability reporting. So in previous reports, SEC has been trying to, like there are plans to require sustainability reporting to non-listed firms. So what are your comments on this? And I mean, what do you think would be the results of this? Like, would this be a good way for us to really achieve the sustainability goals of the Philippines as a whole?
So I think I'm a big supporter of sustainability reporting. But even if you look at the publicly listed companies, I don't know the metrics, but I know that it's not full compliance. Even if they're all required to. A lot of public companies are still unable to do the reporting that is required. Because I think people, we went through this experience, to be very honest, it's very challenging. A lot of organizations are not set up to do this kind of work. So you need to work with partners, you need to upskill your talent and your people. So it's one thing to say, oh, lahat kayo required mag-report, no? But the question is it practical? Kaya ba ng companies? The reality is most companies, even if you force them to do it, even if they want to, they don't have the people and the resources. So I think what's important for us is, yes, we should have a plan where eventually all companies should be required to do sustainability reporting, whether you're large publicly listed, whether you're private, even if you're an MSME, I think that there should be some sustainability reporting requirement in the future. But you can't do that overnight. We need to plan that. And the important step to build to that is we need capacity building. So we need to, in fact, this is a big frustration. I think the schools, the colleges, we need to completely revamp our education in this particular aspects. We need ESG professionals. We need an entire generation of ESG professionals. If you ask a lot of the companies now, what's one of the biggest challenges in trying to become more sustainable? It's people. You know, ESG professionals are being pirated from one company to the next. There's not enough good talent with the expertise and the experience to help companies achieve their ambitious goals. So I think one of the key things that we need to do as a country is we need to revamp our system, our colleges, so that we have the entire generation of new graduates who are going to be specialists, especially in ESG. Because even if you have the reporting, if you don't have the people who can do the work, it's going to be very difficult. So that important piece of capacity building is essential. My hope is that maybe the schools will start to adjust their curriculums and start to offer this in the same way that you have a lot of engineers being produced every year, lawyers, accountants. Why can't we have a lot of ESG professionals being produced every year? That would be a great help to the industry. I don't know if you have further context on that.
I would agree actually with much of what you just said. And you know, as a large corporate, it's been a journey for us over many years at this point to get to a very comprehensive disclosure and reporting framework that we use. And there are a number of different international frameworks. There are a number of different ways in which we're expected to disclose and calculate and explain what we're doing. And we've had to learn as we go along. Now, do you go? I think you can't ask everybody to go all the way to the end of the journey immediately. And a very practical, what should we be disclosing at different steps of your development might be a helpful way to go. Because, as Raymond was saying, a lot of companies don't know how to measure, they don't know how to put this together. And so I think there might be potentially different levels of disclosure for different kind of companies. By the time you look at an SM, you know, we're a large organization, you can hold us to account for a pretty thorough report. But an MSME needs a different kind of support to put up the information that is most relevant to where they can make a difference, or where their material footprint really is. And in terms of educating people, there is a shortage of experts out there. But that's also a broader challenge in society for getting people to understand sustainability issues. And you know, today we're focusing very much on climate change, but there are all the other areas of ESG, and even within the environmental, you can come up with a whole long list of things that need looking at. So, you know, one of the other roles that I think is important is the advocacy and communication of all of these areas to the broader public. And I think that will help raise the awareness, it will help get people interested in the topic and become qualified. That's something SM cares about. We try to advocate. We actually try to train our people. We make available to the people who work in SM our own sustainability school, which is an online course, and which our staff can take online. They can take tests, they can get an internal certification. We have over 35,000 people who've been through that program today, and we are now looking at how we can extend it to more rank and file. We can make it more accessible to the average person. At the same time, we can add more technical aspects to it. And we do need these kind of advocacies and communications and training if we're going to raise the standards of what we expect everybody to be disclosing and working on as their climate and other sustainability priorities.
just to the point of the measures and monitoring and holding each other to account. That's one of the ideas we hope that the future Philippine Alliance for Climate Action will pick up, that we agree on certain metrics and the members really voluntarily would agree to report on their performance against these metrics. And the first one we suggested was the GHG inventory. And it will be up to the group to decide. Do we put in water use next? Do we put in energy efficiency next, etc., etc. So that we see the progress. But initially, we do want this to be an alliance that's action first before the talking. What we want to avoid is that this becomes a coalition where everybody says, yes, we're going to join in, but actually delay the actions. So that's the idea so far, and we hope that more people from the forum today will be interested enough to sign up and form part of that founding.
So for SM, so DOER has been pushing to invite more people to enter the electric vehicle. So are there plans to put more charging stations for this to support the Filipino?
Well, as you know, the SM malls have already made electronic vehicle charging something that's present in key locations, and they're really trying to encourage the use of those vehicles. And I know there's also more requirements coming in for commercial fleets to include more electronic vehicles. There's clearly demand from customers of vehicles to move more into this space. And so we're all trying to move forward together. We have this natural location through our malls to be able to support the electronic vehicles. And I think that's something that's clearly being looked at. But it can't be the malls alone, right? There will need to be a strategy for electronic vehicle charging, just as there is a very strong intention to encourage people to use more electronic vehicles. And we will participate in that conversation and do whatever we can.
At present, how many charging stations does SM?
I actually haven't got the number in my head. We can get back to the number after this. SM Prime Pilot.
I just want to share a quick story on that. So I'm really excited with what's happening in the EV charging space. So we were the first office developer many years ago to put in electric charging facilities in an office building. And we were very, very excited at that time that, we're going to be the first. We thought a lot of people would be charging. But, when we looked at the usage, we found out that very, very few people actually charged because there weren't that many vehicles. So again, it's really an ecosystem you have to build, and I love that Nissan is bringing more electric vehicles. There are more manufacturers that are bringing vehicles. So this ecosystem of the customers need to be confident that there are enough charging facilities. The car manufacturers need to feel that there are enough buyers for the vehicles. The facility providers would like, I don't mind spending for it as long as people will use it. So the worst thing is you spend for it and then wala namang gumagamit, di ba? Medyo it's kind of painful. Now all of those things are coming together. So I think we are going to be entering a very, very exciting growth stage for electric vehicles in the Philippines, between infrastructure, between the vehicle distribution, even the consumer acceptance behavior. I think over the next coming years, we're going to see that all come together to really grow this industry. So even on our end, we put in chargers many years ago. We're actually on our next is going to be to upgrade those chargers now to make them faster and better, and hopefully more people will use them.
Good morning. I'd like to ask Mr. Scott about the presentation of Mr. Sokte. How challenging is the implementation of circular economy in a developing country like the Philippines?
There are many barriers. As you know, our own government made our climate commitments based on conditions of international financing. However, it does need to start. And there is a tendency that government will say, well, private sector needs to do it, private sector will say, well, government has to do it, and even consumers would say, where are the solutions? Diba? Turuan eh. Diba? But it has got to start. Now, that's the reason why we're looking at different points of leverage. Minsan, nagsisimula ito, sa consumer demand, right? Such as the whole movement on plastics was really driven by individuals, public clamor, supported by media. Diba? So you can see these different moments in our history where change happened from the different leverage points. There are some changes that happen government first, diba? Or corporates first, some big entrepreneurial ideas that changed the pathway. So there are already, there's a lot of work going on in circular economy. Actually, plastics is one part, that's the one getting a lot of attention. But there is a bigger movement. I would just like to ask our friends in media on issues of circular economy to watch the space, to look at the issues also holistically. No? For example, this whole conversation on plastics to energy, incineration, think what else are the other aspects that we need to consider there. This is not just about providing energy and addressing the issue of plastic pollution, but health. Ang magiging effect nito in our air pollution. So that's what I would like to encourage you to do, is look at, explore the angles that may be affected as well. Knowing that, after all, it's all connected.
Alright, thank you so much everybody for your questions, and thank you as well to our panel. Thank you to Ms. Trin Custodio, Mr. Tim Daniels, and Mr. Raymond Rufino. Right now, we'll be having our photo opportunity of our panel before we have our lunch.